So I picked this up at an auction. Oh God, like 2 years ago. It is basically the lifelines of the motor car with three different periods: 1890, 1900, 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940, 1950, and 1960, and that's where it ends. What I want to get the point across here is you have all these companies starting out here, okay? And throughout time, they're merged, all right? Obviously, you have things coming up like the Depression and development at World War One, mass production, you know, strikes, depressions, or production, World War Two, and then moving up to more aerodynamics, or more horsepower in like the 60s there. But yeah, what I want to get across here is look at all these mergers. Look at all these companies that started out and failed quickly for whatever reason. They do actually show the reason. But it's one of those deals where if you're not careful, you can straight up and just end. It's one of those deals where stuff happens. Sometimes companies need to go down and not be fully independent. I mean, not fully get supported in the end. I mean, everybody needs a helping hand, but eventually, I mean, mergers happen, things go down, things go out, and that's the way it's supposed to happen. If there's all this innovation up to about 1960, and then actually about 1955, and then what happens is you lose a ton of companies in about 1955 where they get incorporated. All right? And what happens is they get incorporated, but then we take. All right? We're getting a little dealy where we're way too comfortable. And then from 1960 to roughly 1985, we get lazy. All right? Because we have basically a select few companies, and even these merge after this point. We have a select few companies where they don't need to innovate. Nash is gone. Nash was an innovator at 1958. But they Hudson, Nash turns into Hudson Nash. And that continues a little bit longer. But, I mean, the innovation pretty much dies, okay? And it does that for right up to about from like 1960s to mid-80s. We really weren't innovating that much. We were just being lazy. Meanwhile, other places were innovating because they had to. They had to compete. I mean, if you don't have something new, you're going to. Why would they want to pick you if you're not new? And like, I'm not talking about features or not features. I'm not talking about like creature comforts. I'm talking about real innovation. So what happened is about 1975, 1980, other companies would build this up, and they would build up and they would actually innovate, and we started falling behind. And that's the thing. If you don't find a thing that's working for you, if you don't move on to new technology, and if you don't if you just keep on moving along as you always have for several years, you're going to get left behind. You're going to get replaced. You're going to get discontinued. Look at all this. I mean, so it's, you got to keep moving, because if you don't keep moving, you're going to fall behind. Even the best of them, if they don't innovate, they'll fall behind other markets, and they deserve to. They deserve to, because if you get lazy and the other markets come out with something better, they can make a big difference. Now, where we're at right now is we're at a point where we will not let those companies in, because we are set in our ways, and we're worse for it by not letting these companies in. I mean, look at all these through the development period here. Look at all these companies that sprung up just because they could. Everybody could make a car company. I mean, if you had a good idea and a good backer, you can make a car company. You can do that today, but you have so much pushback to go about that. So it's one of those things where if you don't, you're going to hit those walls and you're going to hit those restrictions, but maybe you don't even have to play that game. Maybe there's a different game you can play where you can get around those walls. All right? Or you can get trapped by those walls, and that's the end of the game. You go bankrupt or belly up or whatever, or you get incorporated, and you're just one of these forgotten names. Like, here we are, Flint. I never heard of Flint before. They're gone. I think that's got your star. You got Stanley here. Gone. And that is how it is. I mean, that's how everything works. So, you just gotta look into that, and always have that in mind. Nobody's safe. No company, no matter how big, is safe. All right? If they gamble too much, if they don't innovate, they can go up. And the doors will close. Simple as that. Nobody is safe. Okay? So they just keep innovating. Think about that. Anytime you want to even think about running a company, look at everybody you're competing with. Look at all the companies these guys were competing with. Look at how many went down. And what happened was you'd have a merger. Let's see here. I don't want to use Chrysler, because Chrysler was actually U.S. Motors Corp, and it had a lot of support through the war. So I don't want to use Chrysler. Let's use Chevy. Okay. Look at all the companies here. Turned on to one thing to Chevy, and a whole bunch of those discontinued afterwards. Discontinued by GM. Discontinued. Merged. It is what it is. So, but that's just a lesson. Nothing lasts forever. If you don't innovate, you're going to go down. And simple as that. If you don't plan for something, you're going to go down. Now, that being said, there's stuff that they've done in recent years that is, they're trying, but they're not building for reliability, and I understand why they do, but nobody's building for reliability nowadays, and that's a thing where they're burning the bridges behind them, because yes, you'll probably have a good 5 or 10 years, but once that bridge is gone, you're going to have to build something bigger to make up for what you've done. So they're going to be some hard years here, but whatever, it is what it is. Or we might lose a couple companies. I am open to any brand. I'm open to any brand. I've had, I can say 80 confidently. I've probably had closer to 110 different vehicles. I've driven them all. And like it's one of those deals where I'm not brand specific. I'm because I think everybody has a good brand. Everybody has something good about them. But with the good comes the bad. So you kind of sort out, what it is. But it's one of those deals where you just got to have that in the back of your mind. If you're not moving, if you're not innovating, you're on the chopping block. It's just a matter of time. And the fact that we made it from 1960 to the mid 80s, made it like 25 years on the same basic engine. Because this is all this, well, about 55, was before oil pumps, was before forced oil. I mean, you had a couple of supercharged sports cars and all that. They were using forced oil, but it really wasn't a common thing until roughly the mid 50s. And then you had mid 40s. Let's go mid 40s. And then mid 40s for sure. And then you had forced oil, huge innovation. And the ones that didn't want to do that were splash oil and all that went down. It's a deal. And then 1980s, if they weren't fuel injecting, they were going down. Or if they went the other way and they tried to get too innovative for the time, like Cadillac did with the 864 in the, I'm going to say 70s. Don't quote me on that. The 864 in the 70s, they were too fast. Because they were too fast, none of it worked, and it hurt the brand big time. Meanwhile, other guys have using proven technology. What they're doing is they're copying each other. If it works, go ahead. Come up with your own proprietary deal, but at the end of the day, if it's a concept that's going to work, everybody's going to go to it. What we need now is we need more concepts. We need more stuff out there. Okay? And with AI and everything else, it's a possibility we're going to get something like that. Now, the companies that do not use that and do not innovate and do not figure this out and go from, let's just say, a small 4-cylinder engine, or a small engine that's turbocharged and whatever to try to keep that horsepower. That's been done. It's been done to death. It's been done since the 80s. Small 4-cylinder. There's some fuel injection in there in the 90s, and you got a little turbocharged, and it's reliable. And it's reliable, but it's still underpowered for what it is. So you try to push it harder, and by pushing it harder, and doing it cheaper, both those two straight hit stakes in the chest, you end up with an unreliable product. So, yeah, and also getting like 8 and 10 speeds when like a 6-speed will do and all this. I understand what they're trying to do with the mileage. They don't have a choice. Their hands have been forced. But, yeah, they need to innovate. They need to get outside of what they're currently doing and look at like electric / hybrid. That's primary electric and the hybrid parts for charging the battery kind of deal. It's one of those deals where that would work. That would work. You never have any range anxiety. You never have anything like that. The thing could charge when it was dang near parked all the time. Boom. But they won't do it because they're so stuck up on this whole turbocharged deal. You're trying to get everything have 300 horsepower and still get 35 miles to the gallon. Whereas if you just had a, 2-stroke or a simple, like, under 1 liter engine using as a generator and then electric from then on, you could probably have a fast, reliable vehicle that also got good mileage. But whatever. I'm just trying to make this point where if you innovate, you can actually succeed. You won't be one of these lines that ends harshly. You know? It won't be the Marquette Corporation, which ended in 2000, or which ended in 1913. You know? I mean, look at that though. 1905 to 1912, they didn't have a huge run. But, you know, they were still part of this General Motors Corporation. And they just cut ties. We got here. We got these guys. Pontiac Buggy. Look, watch this. Murphy turned in Oakland Motor Car. Oakland made a 204 cylinder, 1913. Made a 6 and a 4. 6 and an 8. Light 6. Officially got a little Oakland logo there. 24. 30s. They made a 6V8. 32. And boom. Oakland discontinued. Merger with Pontiac. There you go. So, doesn't matter how long your history is. Things change. I mean, names change and all that, you know? So, yeah. Think about it. Anyway, folks. Just trying to get the point across. I didn't do a great job on this one, but there you go. See you guys.